What if the person you love most in this world walked away, not because they wanted to, but because life gave them no choice? What if you waited year after year with no promises, no guarantees, just love in your heart and hope in your soul? What if the world kept moving, but your heart stayed right where they left it? This isn't a fairy tale. This isn't some movie. This is real. It happened in a small American town where time moves slow, but love refuses to fade. This is the story of a young woman named Emma and the boy she gave her heart to, a boy named Noah. A story of love, heartbreak, time, and something so rare in this world, unwavering faith. Emma Jean Carter grew up in a quiet neighborhood just outside Nashville, Tennessee. The kind of place where everybody knows your name, where front porch swings and fireflies are just part of the evening routine. She was kind, soft-spoken, but strong in that way only Southern girls know how to be. Emma had dreams, but more than anything, she had a heart that was made for love, the kind of love that holds on when it hurts, the kind that doesn't let go, even when the world says it should. Noah Brooks moved into town when he was 17, tall, athletic, with a smile that could stop traffic. He wasn't arrogant, though, just good. He helped his mom carry groceries, tipped well at the diner, and held the door open for strangers. He didn't talk a lot, but when he looked at Emma, words weren't necessary. The connection was instant, silent at first, then electric. They met at a 4th of July cookout. Emma had on a red sundress and was helping her mom bring sweet tea out to the table. Noah had just moved in next door a week earlier and came by with his uncle. Their eyes met across the lawn, and in that moment, something shifted. Something neither of them understood at the time. Something that would define the next decade of their lives. Their love started slowly, like most real things do. Walks by the lake, notes passed in class, quiet talks under starlit skies. But even at 17, they knew this wasn't some high school crush. There was weight to it, depth, like two old souls who had finally found their way back to each other. But life doesn't care about timing. Just after graduation, Noah received news that would change everything. He had been accepted into the Naval Academy. It was his dream, a dream he had fought for, but it meant leaving Tennessee, leaving Emma, leaving everything they had built. They sat together the night before he left, beneath the old oak tree in her backyard, their spot. Noah held her hand and promised nothing, because he was too honest for that. He didn't ask her to wait, didn't tell her to put her life on hold, but his eyes said everything. "I don't know how long I'll be gone," he whispered, "and I can't ask you to wait for me. That wouldn't be fair." Emma looked at him, tears in her eyes, and simply said, "I'm not waiting because you asked me to, Noah. I'm waiting because I love you, and I'll keep loving you, even if I have to do it from here." And so he left, and she stayed. The first year was the hardest. Letters came at first, sweet, handwritten notes filled with love and longing. But life in the Navy is demanding. Time slipped away. The letters came less often, then stopped altogether. Emma never blamed him. She knew he was doing what he had to do. Still, every morning she checked the mailbox. Every night she whispered goodnight to the stars. People told her to move on. Friends tried to set her up, but no one was Noah. No one made her heart feel the way it did when he was near. And so, she kept living, went to college, studied early childhood education, got a job at the local elementary school. But she never stopped loving him, not once. Year 2 passed, then 3. The small town moved on, but Emma stayed rooted in her hope. She didn't put her life on pause. She lived, but a part of her remained locked in that summer of love. By year 5, people had stopped mentioning Noah altogether. Some even assumed she had made him up. But Emma knew better. She felt it, deep in her bones. He was still out there, and he wasn't gone forever. Then in year 6, she heard something. A friend who worked at the VA mentioned his name, said he had returned home from overseas, but no one knew where he was now. Emma's heart raced. Was he okay? Had he changed? Had he forgotten? She didn't reach out, not because she didn't want to, but because if he was meant to find her, he would. That was the kind of faith she had, unshakable. And then came year 7. It was a cool October morning, the kind where the air smells like firewood and fallen leaves. Emma was walking out of the school after a long day of parent-teacher conferences when she saw him, leaning against her old blue Chevy truck like no time had passed at all. Her breath caught in her throat. She stopped walking. The world stood still. Noah. He was older. His eyes held stories, pain, and wisdom. But his smile, it was the same one that stopped her in her tracks all those years ago. He didn't speak at first, just walked toward her slowly, almost unsure. And when he finally reached her, he said the words that shattered her and healed her all at once. "I never stopped loving you, Emma. I just didn't think you'd still be here." She stared at him, tears pouring down her cheeks, and whispered, "I never left." They stood there in the middle of that gravel parking lot as 7 years of silence melted into one moment of truth. There were no speeches, no grand gestures, just two people whose hearts had never stopped speaking, even when their mouths had. They sat in that old truck for hours talking, laughing, crying. He told her about the places he'd been, the battles he'd fought, both overseas and within himself. She told him about the kids she taught, the nights she spent staring at the sky, the dreams she had of this exact moment. And then, as the sun dipped below the trees, Noah took her hand and said, "If you're still willing, I'd like to start again. For real this time." Emma didn't need time to think. She had already waited. She smiled and said, "You never have to ask me that again." They didn't rush into things. Love doesn't need rushing. But they were different now, older, wiser, more aware of how fragile and precious love truly is. A year later, they were married under that same oak tree, the same place they had said goodbye, the same place their story paused, but never ended. Today, they live in that quiet town outside Nashville. They still drink sweet tea on the porch and dance barefoot in the kitchen when no one's looking. And sometimes on cool October mornings, Noah looks at Emma and says, "Thank you for waiting." And she just smiles, leans her head on his shoulder and replies, "You were worth every second," because true love doesn't follow timelines. It doesn't care about distance or silence. True love waits, not because it has to, but because it knows. And sometimes it takes 7 years, but when it's real, it finds its way back. Love like this doesn't come around often. It doesn't show up on dating apps or get measured by how often someone texts back. It's rare, pure, and unshakable. If you're still waiting for your person, don't lose hope, because sometimes the greatest love stories take time to unfold. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still believes in love. Because here at Fearless Motivation, we believe love always finds a way.